I'm Steve Bowder, and I'm a software engineer for FM Global, which is located right down the street in Johnston. FM Global is an interesting place. It's a commercial property insurer. And what that means is that the company itself insures locations all around the world for, commercial property. And typically FM Global targets the Fortune 1000. So it's high value locations that are being insured through them. Now, how that relates to me, I personally don't know much about insurance at all. I'm a developer. I help design, develop, and deliver systems that support the people who do the underwriting or the property inspections, that kind of like the daily functions of the company. So we keep them moving forward through, development and deployment. But
When you are looking for new employees, even within just your division, what are you looking for in those new employees? So, what kind of education or career field skills, but also what kind of soft skills are you looking for?
when we do an interview, one of the top priorities for us is making sure that not only do we want to work with you, but you want to work with us. There's a certain culture in the company that we take a lot of pride in, that it's you come into work and everyone's very personable, everyone's, very welcoming. And it's a great work environment for that reason, because yes, we do look for the specific skills, which we look for entry level employees. We do look for 4-year degrees. In my arena, we do look for a lot of different technical skills. We're a Microsoft shop, what we're considered. That's not to say that we're exclusively married to just Microsoft technology, but a large base of our systems are, surrounding it. Um, so that always helps. But we, as technology tends to, evolve as it does, we do look for a lot of web experience, different upcoming technologies. I guess we could just umbrella term that one as upcoming. But the soft skills is a great point, because having a lot of technical knowledge isn't very useful to us if you can't communicate it effectively to those around you. So you might be helping to design a solution to a problem, but if you just kind of keep that solution under lock and key without being able to communicate it out, you might as well not have the answer. So that's a trick that we fall into sometimes, is that we get so hyper focused on, you know, sharpening our technical skill that we don't focus on the human element. And that's something very important to keep in mind when interviewing. I would say any place really, but I know we make it a point to say, like, how easy is it going to be to work, back and forth with this person?
As much as you can tell, given the pandemic life right now, what's the job outlook for entry level employees at your company and in the field right now?
Technology is one of those, kind of crazy ones where it hasn't really slowed. The pandemic was at worst a speed bump. We've been hiring across the board, new talent in the development space. Technology is one of those things that does the skills are pretty transferable remotely. I know that's I can't speak for, because it changes per region, but I do know that's something that in Rhode Island local area and Boston, which is kind of our closest competitor, including Providence, um, they've been shifting to a more remote work style, which opens up the talent pool without having to, meet the demands of a, commute. So it's the job prospects are, I would personally say, from what I've seen, the same as they were. And then as the pandemic gets tougher in different places, they're actually opening up a little bit more as more companies convert to that remote, workspace style. So say the job prospects are actually, getting better.
That's great to hear. What has been your own path to where you are now and your own experience with education? What early positions did you hold in your field? Did you do an internship? Anything like that?
That's a fun one to answer. I actually started off as a math major, and then while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with a major in mathematics, I took an elective at CCRI, and that was just a programming course that was going to satisfy my electives. And when I took that course, I said, "Wow, this is awesome!" And following that semester, I switched my major over to the computer programming track at CCRI. And from there, I just lined up my courses. I knew I wanted to go for the 4 year right away between CCRI and URI. And I know there was a lot of effort put in by the department for that. They did a great job of you can sign up if you know you want to do that right away. It transfers right over. But for me, I kind of kicked around a little bit. So I was a little bit, it wasn't bumpy at all, but it was just a little more, I had to be more careful with the courses I chose. But they do a great job of outlining which courses transfer. And so grabbed the associates from CCRI, and then I moved on to URI and transferred in as a junior. And from there, I went to, after my first year at URI, I had gone to one of the career fairs. And at that point, and don't tell URI, but at that point, I still had my resume basically garnished with everything I did at CCRI, my capstone projects, my courses. I had a code repository of all the stuff I did at CCRI. And I was really just going to the career fair, just basically just to see what was out there and just kind of try to get a bit of a pulse. But I ended up turning my resume into FM Global with all my work from CCRI listed. And they said, you know what, like check, 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 like let's do an interview. And so I took the internship going into my senior year, and I did 2 back to back, and I made the hours work just because I really like being in the field too, because you pick up a lot of experience very quickly. It's the first time I could apply actual working skills to what I was learning into the classroom. And that was I think one of my favorite years, I'd say, out of my education in general. I loved working with CCRI because there's a lot of professors on staff that worked in the field, either are currently working, the adjuncts might still be in the field. You have a lot that were in the field and they kind of eased off the gas and decided to transfer what they know to the upcoming generations. And then you have some that worked in the field a while ago, but then they stay current on what is necessary in the field today. And so that was the first time I had at CCRI, was the first time I had this. Instead of the question of like, when am I going to use this? The question kind of got flipped of, here's what you need to know, and here's how we're going to get you there. And that's what I think really drew me into the field and had me so equipped and ready to move into the internship at FM Global in such like a fast ride, that FM Global basically kept me on board. After my internship ended, I contracted for them. So I did a year of contracting, which was basically just waiting for a spot on the team that I was on particularly because I really liked that team. So they just offered me a contract because there wasn't like a headcount position open. I waited. It took about a year. FM Global realized that after a year, I was either going to keep waiting around or I wasn't. And well, that's true anytime, but it's more of we can't keep them waiting around. So they opened up a headcount just to kind of pull talent on board. And so I'm very thankful for that, obviously. But that was about 5 years ago, I want to say. So I've been in the position moving up from application developer through that track to FM Global branches, application development and software engineering. That's a concept that's kind of out there for some companies. Some companies roll it all together, which is basically just hands-on coding all the time or some design to the system as well. It's kind of just a difference there. But so I've served in both of those roles, and then hanging out as a software engineer now and loving that. So that's where I'll be for the next, hopefully, many, many years.
So that brings us to our final question. Do you have any other advice for current CCRI students looking to join your field, or maybe even FM Global specifically?
In the field and FM Global, both, I would say one of the top priorities as a student, looking back at my missed opportunities or things I kind of learned the hard way. So one of the things I would absolutely promote is any project work you do, any class work you do, when you do, and I'm not saying every single thing, you don't have to list everything, but some of the bigger things, like when you take a course and you do a course project. For the longest time, I picture that as just, okay, like we did these little steps and now let's kind of show how we know all the steps go together. And that's what the project is just kind of almost like a test at the end of a chapter. That's not true, really. It's very much a working example of your knowledge that you've accrued throughout the course. And maybe everyone already realized that. And I was just, a little slow on the uptake there, but promoting that knowledge of, hey, I've gone through this course and here's my example of what I've learned from it. That's invaluable to interviewers. I know that I've sat through several interviews where someone's had a great GitHub page that just here's working examples of code that they've done. And we can sit and look through that. And then we get back to the earlier point of the soft skills of, well, they're great technically, that's great work. And, for your level of where you are, that's an awesome place to be. But how are you to work with? Like, if I ask you an example of, what was name something like, like name a problem you had to overcome in a group project. Well, you can kind of quickly tell the people who just kind of cross the arms and just, well, I just had to do it all myself. Well, okay. Did you really solve a problem though? Versus, show collaboration, show working, show that you are a team player, not in this fact that you can carry the team on your shoulders, but that you can get people on board and, actively participate in the project. Those are all great skills to have. If you have any examples of times where you've had a success within a team setting where things weren't going as smooth as they could have been, that's another thing to mark down on the resume, put down somewhere, or even just have prepared for an interview. And then specific again to FM Global and development track, I think a very important piece that gets, I don't want to say accidentally skipped, but overlooked would be database work. Understanding how databases and tables and databases relate to each other, understanding how to query a database, how to do the basic operations. Any sort of SQL skill is a great boon for you going into a entry level position, because there's a lot of senior level people who don't have much database experience, and that's really not the greatest in today's market. When we talk full stack development, being able to work with the front end, back end, and database, leaving off that third piece is kind of a killer these days, because we need people who can go top to bottom. It's from seeing the data on the screen all the way down to the source of where it's coming from. So